Okay, Sunday, May 25th, 2014, day before Memorial Day. And just in case anybody's listening who's been in the military, the armed forces, thank you for your service. Alright, today we are talking about true love. You know, we've all heard about true love, right? The Princess Bride. True love. Enough to come back from being almost dead for true love, right? Well, what is really true love? Let's look at it. If we look at 1 Corinthians 13, it talks about love. Now, there's just a couple different kinds of love that it talks about. It first says that, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Now, those first things there is talking about are all the things that we associate with somebody doing something out of love. We associate people giving up and sacrificing and helping other people with love. But it's not agape love. It's not godly love necessarily. I mean, it's not that it's bad. It's just not necessarily the love of God. But let's look at what true love does. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It's not puffed up. It does not behave rudely. It does not seek its own. It is not provoked. It thinks no evil. It does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there are prophecies, they'll fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part, but when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part will be done away. Now let's look at I like to read out of the Orthodox Jewish Bible, because it has some interesting translations of some of the phrases. Ahava, which is agape love, godly love, suffers long. Ahava is kind. Ahava does not have kaina, which is envy or angst, that type of thing. Ahava does not brag. It's not puffed up in ga'ava, or conceit, or pride. That's an interesting thing. Love, true love, isn't conceited. You may know what conceit is?
Mm-hmm.
Full of yourself? Thinking that it's better than everything else? Well, I love more than you love, so my love is better than your love. Ahava does not behave shamelessly. Ahava does not I don't know how to pronounce that word. Enokiot, insist on its own way. It doesn't pridefully insist on its own way. Ahava is not touchy and vindictive, keeping a record of wrongs. That's a good thing. When you have true love, and somebody says, "Would you forgive me?" and they're truly saying, "Please forgive me." That's not to say that they aren't going to mess up again, but they're truly sorry. True love forgives and doesn't keep it marked up on the wall. Well, you did this 6 months ago, too. Check. It's not true love. Now, I'm not saying that you have to forgive and be buddy-buddy with people. We've had that conversation before. But if somebody truly repents, even if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that in a few months, unless God just helps them, they're going to do the same thing over again. You don't keep track of it. You can't forgive a debt that's already been forgiven. If you do, then it's not, you didn't forgive its first time. So if you lend somebody money and then say, you know what, you don't have to worry about paying me back. 6 months later, you can't look at them and say, you don't have to worry about paying me back that money. It's weird. People do it though. That's what keeping track of does. It's the same thing. If you forgive somebody, you forgive them. It's gone. Ahava does not find simcha in evil. Simcha is joy, I guess. But rejoices in ha'emes. Again, words I'm not sure how to pronounce in some of the Jewish words here. Ahava covers all things, believes all things, has tikva, hope. Even Sitzfleisch for all things. I think that Sitzfleisch is maybe faith of some sort. Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. True love will go through an awful lot. When you really love somebody, you'll put up with an awful lot. It's not to say that you let them tear you down. It's not to say that you get walked all over. But you bear a lot of things when you truly love somebody. You understand that other people have weaknesses. And so you do your best to bear them up. You do your best to stand up underneath of those weaknesses to support them. And hopefully, there's somebody supporting your weaknesses. It's really cool when you can support each other's weaknesses. It's kind of like that yin and yang thing for the Eastern stuff, because it supports each other.
You can do that to prayer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not talking necessarily physical. I'm just saying emotional.
Not it, because you're not really able to be around that person for whatever reason.
True. Yeah, sometimes when you truly love somebody, you can't be around them because of whatever. You can still bear them up. You still lift them up. You still pray for them, hope for them. See, true love deals with an awful lot of things. Now, what is love? God is love. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, gentleness, mercy, self-control. All right. Those are all aspects or attributes of God. So, you could read this again. Let me just read from verse 4 through verse 7. God suffers long and is kind. God does not envy. God does not parade himself. He's not puffed up. God doesn't behave rudely. He doesn't seek his own. He's not provoked. He thinks no evil. Does not rejoice in iniquity, but he rejoices in the truth. Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. God never fails. So think about that. Now, the question comes, if you are giving true love, if you are truly in him, if we're truly under the blood of Jesus, if we're truly in him, as it says in Romans, buried and raised in him, can you then read that and say, Jonathan suffers long and is kind? Samantha suffers long and is kind. Riley suffers long and is kind. All of us suffer long, but are we kind? That's the question. A lot of us are long suffering. We'll put up with a lot, but we're not necessarily kind. Oh, ouch. Jesse does not envy. Jesse does not parade himself. Oh, wait a minute, maybe that. Yeah. Can we really we can read that way because, right? I mean, and God is love, yes. makes perfect sense to put God in there in place of love, right? But when we're in Him, then we can put ourselves there too, right? Now, it doesn't always fit right, doesn't always fit accurately, but it's a measuring stick. We look at that and go, oh, well, maybe I'm a little bit puffed up.
No, it's definitely something to strive for.
Oh, maybe I do kind of, enjoy strife a little bit. I really like to watch those, soccer games that break into a riot. Those hockey games that turn into a fight. Okay, whatever. That's the whole reason people go to a hockey game. Or into a fight, is to watch a hockey game. Anyway. But you know it. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away. Intellectually, most of us, if we have any spiritual clue at all, understand that we only see part of the big picture. Now, I know some people that are intellectualists, humanists. They're pretty sure that this is it, this is all, and they think they've got their hand on the whole picture. Totally understand exactly how it works. 100 years ago, Charles Darwin thought pretty much the same thing. Well, whatever.
No, people twisted his idea.
His ideas were twisted, but when he died, he's on his deathbed, he was like, that wasn't what I meant. He wasn't going against God. He repented. Darwin did take God out of a lot of things. And when he died, he realized God was in everything. And should be. And if we're not careful, we'll think we've got a handle on it all. Got everything lined up. I know what I'm going to do when I graduate. I'm going to get this job. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. I'm going to get this and get that and get this and get that. And I'm going to save this and save that and do this and do that. If we're not careful, that's a lot like doing all those things at the beginning. Well, I was in speech and debate all through high school. I can talk my way around anything. But if we don't have love, we're just kind of like a sounding brass. You ever heard a clanging cymbal that wasn't played in time with music? Let me rephrase that. Have you ever heard the little kids get the metal lids out of the cupboard because they think that it's fun to bang on them? It's not musical. But see, it says, when I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and I don't have love, that's what I sound like. That's what the world hears. Is it any wonder why the world gets upset with Christians or not with people who say they're Christians that don't have love? If you're preaching on the street corner and you're just preaching because that's what you're supposed to do, then you can be a good speaker. You can be really preaching. But if you're not doing it with love, is it any wonder the world gets a little upset? It's a little annoying when those kids take out those copper lids and start banging them together, isn't it? Just a little bit. Take the wooden spoon and bang on the bottom of the pot. Dong, 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 dong. No rhythm, nothing. Or if somebody just takes a horn. Have you ever heard these air horns? The really loud ones. Well, That's kind of the same thing. It's like just blowing one of those for no reason. It's a little unnerving. Might be a little upsetting. People may not really appreciate it much. Might be a little upset. So, though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all the mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I can remove mountains. Wow. Okay, so the gift of prophecy looks at situations and says this is what's going to happen. And is accurate. I mean, if you have the gift of prophecy, you've got the gift of prophecy. The gifts and callings are without repentance. Alright, but I've got the gift of prophecy. And I understand all mysteries. That's not being big-headed. That's not just assuming that they understand. That's looking at something going, oh, I see how that works. Yeah, totally understand how that works. But with everything. You look at it and go, oh yeah, makes perfect sense. Genius level. Or beyond. Says, and I have all faith. Not a little bit of faith. Not a faith of a grain of mustard seed, but all faith. So that I can remove mountains. That's what Jesus said. He said, if you have faith of a grain of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, go and be planted in the ocean. And it'll go and move. That's some faith. It's not faith, it's power. The faith is just believing it will happen. Because Jesus said it. I don't know anybody who has that kind of faith. Well, that kind of faith to just say it and it happens. Now I have people that say, I have faith that when I pay this backhoe driver to come over here and move this hill, it'll move. It's still a certain kind of faith, just a little bit different. Faith in other things. So I've got all of that, but if I don't have love, I am nothing. So if we don't have love, we're nothing. And it says, and if I give all my goods to feed the poor, and I give my body to be burned, I'm making a sacrifice. I'm sacrificing my very life for somebody else. Basically what that means is, I'm going to lay down my life so that somebody else can go free. Give my body to be burned. But I don't have love, it profits me. It's not worth anything. It's not worth a single solitary thing. That's the place that Jesus said, I'll tell you, those people that stand in the the public places and pray and make it obvious what they give, they have their reward. They've already got their reward. There is no profit. There's no benefit. There's no reward in heaven for somebody who doesn't have love. It makes sense. If you don't have God, let's put God in place of love there, because it's still agape love. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not God, I become a sounding brass and a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, but have not God, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not God, it profiteth me nothing. So you can put God in there in place of love, and you're like, maybe that makes a little bit more sense. True love is pretty crazy. Let's see here. See, true love, or perfect love, has no fear. So in John 4:18 it says, let me find a version that makes sense just to read it. The English Revised. There's no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear hath punishment, and he that feareth is not made perfect in love. It's a little bit in and out there, but there's no fear in love. Love and fear are mutually exclusive. If you're afraid of someone, then you don't feel love from that someone. Now, you may be afraid of disappointing them. You may be afraid of upsetting them because you don't want to hurt them. You may be, there may be situations that you would fear causing. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about being afraid of that person. If you're afraid of someone, then love isn't in that relationship. Not true love. Might be something else. Could be, eros love or filial love, but not agape love. Because perfect love, or true love, casts out fear. Another word that it used in place of, because fear has torment, fear is punishment, or fear of punishment, or fear of retribution. See, perfect love doesn't have fear of retribution. Perfect love knows, true love knows, even if I mess up, I'm still going to be loved. There may be consequences. I mean, everything has consequences. That's just life. But true love knows that there's no fear. I don't have to worry about being disowned if I'm truly loved. If my children hopefully know that even no matter what they do, I love them truly, I won't disown them. I might kick them out, but I won't disown them. I'll always claim them as my children, even if there's times I might not want to. No. I'll always love them. I'll always pray for them. I'll always care for them. Now, consequences might say, you blew it. Out you go. Hopefully, that'll be an issue. We'll see. Still got a few more years yet. As Jesse reaches 18, 19, then we'll be past that safe point. But true love doesn't fear, because it doesn't look at and say there's going to be retribution because I messed up. Consequences, sure, but not retribution. Does anybody know what the difference is?
Consequence is the effect that happens under the cause.
It's kind of like if you throw a pebble in the lake. It's going to cause ripples. So it's consequences. Okay? Retribution?
Retribution is like, okay, some guy stole my sandwich. And like it's the cause after the effect. So like you got cause effect, that's consequence.
Right.
It's the cause that is created because of the effect.
It's interesting.
So like if you leave out your sandwich and then I come and take your sandwich, I am the effect. My eating your sandwich is the effect of your leaving out your sandwich.
Right.
Retribution
says you're going to pay me for that sandwich.
Yeah, you're going to pay me for that sandwich.
That was an expensive sandwich. You're going to pay me for that.
Yeah.
Collecting.
Right. See, true love would say, you ate my sandwich. Guess I'll make another one. I'm not leaving it out again. See, true love says, doesn't say I'm stupid. It says, I know not to leave a sandwich out around Spencer because he'll eat it. Gosh. But retribution says, you owe me for that sandwich, man. That was 25 cents for the Black Forest ham, and that rye bread cost at least 10 cents a slice, and the Swiss cheese was $1 a slice because it was really good, expensive Swiss cheese, and the mayonnaise on it cost 5 cents. See, Anthony loves mayonnaise. So you owe me at least, what, 50 cents for that sandwich, man. You got to pay up. That's retribution. Or if I walked up and smacked you on the back of the head because you ate my sandwich, that would be payback or retribution. That's not true love. Sometimes getting smacked on the back of the head is a direct result of true love. Because it's a consequence. You open your mouth, you say something stupid, whack! You get brain dusted. You open your mouth and prove that there's dust on your brain, and then somebody dusts your brain for you. That's true love. That's a consequence. That's tough love. Yeah. True love can be tough. Yeah. True love is, it's like in the movie The Princess Bride. True love. What's a reason to come back from being almost dead? True love. Yeah, true love. That's a reason to come back from being almost dead.
But they had to go through a lot of pain and suffering.
You have to go through a lot.
For true love.
Yeah.
It wasn't all better than
True love isn't always easy. Think of when the girl pushed, the Dread Pirate Roberts down the hill. And he's like, as you wish. And then she's like, oh, my Wesley! And she throws herself down the hill too. That was true love. What? Anyway.
Hashtag
What?
Romeo and Juliet. What was it? Okay, that wasn't really true love. I guess she was like, yeah, I'll trade style with you.
Yeah. That's another story.
They were only like 13-year-old.
That was something. I'm not sure what.
Most hormones.
Here, I like the way the Weymouth New Testament says this verse out of John. 1 John. It says, love has in it no element of fear. That lets us know love does have components. It is made up of other, it may not be, it is a base element. It's a fruit of the Spirit, but it doesn't have any fear in it. But perfect love drives away fear because fear involves pain, and if a man gives way to fear, there is something imperfect in his love. So if we give way to fear, if we're too afraid to do what we need to do, even though love would say do this, then there's something imperfect in our love. I'm going to give up. I just can't do it. Well, then maybe you don't love that person as much as you think you do. Maybe you don't have that pure love as much as you think you do. Something to consider and think about. So, true love casts out, perfect love casts out all fear. Remember that.
Sometimes you have to sacrifice between others.
And even true love has consequences. There's sacrifice. The consequences aren't necessarily bad, they just are. You have to deal with them. You deal with consequences and go on. And you know what? You can't live your life in such a way that you say, it's like the... Has anybody ever seen one of those Zen gardens? They have the rocks and the sand. I want one too. I'd love to have a full size one. I think it would be awesome.
Go ahead, he's in the backyard.
But it'd have dog prints in it all the time. It'd have to be raked all the time. But that's kind of the point. They have to be raked all the time anyway, because to get anywhere in the garden, you have to walk there. To walk there, you're going to leave footprints. If you say, I'm just going to sit on this rock and rake it all out around me and never step foot off of this rock again, how is that true love? It's not. There's consequences. The consequences aren't necessarily bad. They're just part of life. You just deal with them and go on. Now, if somebody comes along and says, this rock would be better over here, and they move it, that's not a consequence. That's just whatever. But, you see what I'm saying? So consider what true love is. That perfect love casts out fear. True love casts out fear. There's no fear. There's a hymn that says, there is no shadow of turning within. That means that because of that true love, because of that perfect love, there's no desire to turn away from God. There might be situations that make life hard, and you're like, oh God, how am I going to do this? And if you listen, you'll hear him say, just because I love you, you can do it. Because you're in me, you can do it. You can do it. Peter walked on the water because he loved Jesus. Truly loved him. Didn't think about the consequences. He said, Lord, if it's you, call me and I'll come. He said, come on. So he went. As soon as he thought about the consequences, then the consequences became reality. As soon as he realized, I'm walking on water. You can't walk on water. Then he couldn't walk on water. Sometimes you just have to have faith. Love, faith, hope, and love. They all remain. The greatest is love. It says the fruit of the Spirit is love. Now, I've seen that in a couple different verses in different ways. I've seen the fruit of the Spirit is love, semicolon, joy, blah, blah, blah. Which means that all of those are attributes of love. I've also seen it with a comma. But I kind of like to think that the fruit of the Spirit is love, which is made up of joy and gentleness and patience and self-control. All those fruits make up love. You can look at it either way, and it's pretty accurate. So, today, this week, remember that true love has no fear. If you find yourself in a place of fear, if you find yourself in a place of anxiety, if you find your place in a place of upsetness because you don't know what you're going to have to do, you don't want to have to deal with something, it's hard, it's difficult, remember that that's not perfect love. And step into perfect love. See, we have the ability, as long as we've asked Jesus into our heart, as long as we're following him and we're not in sin, we can say, God, I want to be under your blood. I want to be in you. And I can step into him. I can step into perfect love. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to be perfect. I can strive for perfection, but it means that everything I do can go through that filter of Jesus' love. It can go through that filter of Jesus' blood from the cross. It can go through that filter of Christ that's around me, reaching out to the world. And if everything goes through that filter, then, a filter like that's going to block out things that, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't need to get out through that. Oh, wait, no, that doesn't. And also, it filters things coming in. It protects and covers coming in. Oh, look, that's fear. I don't allow fear. No fear. Oh, that's whining. I don't allow whining. Complaining? No. Joy. Come on, joy. Peace, yeah, some peace. So remember that. If you find yourself in a place of fear, you can say, Jesus, I need you. I need to be in you. And you can choose, by his grace and mercy, pleading the blood, to step into him. And when you do that, then all of these things that are negative can be filtered out. Consequences, sure, you still have to deal with consequences. There's still things that happen in the world that you have to deal with. People slam their brakes on in front of you and you don't get stopped in time. There's consequences. But just because there's consequences doesn't necessarily mean it has to be bad. It just is. You know?
But you can have peace
But you can have peace.
in those situations.
Yeah, so that's just to think about it. You know, when you guys called me and had that, if you had told me that the guy that you rear-ended was really upset, I would have come to the house and got Kenny.
What?
Just in case. I would have. I would have come by here and got Kenny, just in case. If he was really upset. Maybe not. No, I probably would have. Yeah. Because I'll walk softly and carry a big stick, and Kenny can be my big stick. But, you know, as long as there's peace, then I didn't need that. That's what I'm saying.
You just pick up Kenny and beat the guy with Kenny.
I had Kenny's bow staff in the car. I guess I could have used that if I had to.
Well, you know, talking the situation down and deflating
Well,
it
I would have
with
done
your
that
words
first, but then if
and bringing peace to the situation.
I would have done that first, but I would have Kenny as a backup.
Couldn't bring peace, he would turn the guy into pieces. Lots of peace.
I'd bring pieces.
Yeah, this is how guys' brains work.
That's how guys' brains work. No, the guy was there, and he was his wife and two little 5-year-old twins had come, and they were adorable. Little boy and little girl. They were just too cute.
Well, that says a lot about that man that he didn't get upset.
Yeah, he was just like, "You got insurance? Okay, happens. That's life."
He could have been.
Well, he knew he'd slammed his brakes on and just had barely
He probably
barely missed hitting the guy in front of him. So
Yeah.
So, I just want to ask about, like, respect. In what... I'm trying to think of a way to word this, but I've always understood respect as being, like, not necessarily, pretty equal balance of love and fear. So it's not like, but you know, like if you were to meet, I don't know, Chuck Norris, right? Yeah. You were to meet Chuck Norris, and not because of, you know, like the crazy way out there jokes,
right,
or whatever, but you know, like in the sense that, you know, like Chuck Norris is usually thought to be a pretty cool guy, but you also know that he's like grand tier karate dude.
His reputation.
Well, for example, I met Grandmaster Chen, who was Chuck Norris's first teacher. Okay, fine.
So there's like a level of respect there.
Yeah.
So it's like you recognize, like, this person is very skilled in what they do, but I also know that they could hurt me really bad. You know, like...
reputation precedes.
Well, but see, that's not necessarily love. I can respect somebody and honor somebody and really, really like them. But if I know, yeah, if I do something stupid, they could like take me apart, and would. Then there's a little bit of fear. That's not necessarily love there. Now, honor, sure. And respect. And those are good things. They're not bad. But if I had a personal relationship with that person and had brotherly love or really loved them, had a father-son relationship or something similar, then I wouldn't be afraid of that. I wouldn't have that fear. Yeah, I would still know. Yeah, he could wipe the floor with me if he wanted to. But he won't. Even if I did something stupid, he'd just look at me and shake his head. You know? Where...
But you want to be that person.
Well, yeah.
For other people.
But honoring...
You can't make somebody else be that way towards you. But you can be that way for other people.
You can be that way towards other people. And so, but I think what you're thinking of is honor. Which, so you can honor somebody for their abilities, for their skills, for what they do, what they've accomplished, and still be a little bit afraid of them. You can honor somebody and not even really like them. You can say, I respect what they do. I don't think I'd want to be friends with them. But see, love, now, I see where you're coming from. It's like a father, like when you look at your father, my dad could rip me apart, wipe the floor with me. You got a big dad. But you're not really afraid that he would do that, unless you did something really stupid and the consequence was that. See, we go back to the consequences.
If you were disrespectful, or, something.
But also, there's always like the fear of God. So you love God. There's a fear of God.
Right.
Are you afraid of bodily injury, or are you afraid of disappointing God?
Well, I'm sure.
The fear of God is... We're not we don't have to be afraid of the wrath of God. The fear of God is... And that's a good question. That's a good thing to bring up, because a lot of times people have said, well, what about the fear of God? Why do I have to be afraid of God? Why is there... because it talks about the fear of God. And the fear of God is not a bad thing. Dude said, let there be light, and there was light everywhere. He could say, grease spot. He could say,
God is love.
He could say, earth no more. Done with you. Did. Noah. Clap on.
Clapper.
He could go, yeah, the clapper. Let's redo that. Rewind.
But God is love. God is love.
But we don't have to fear that.
That's why all the men that that God appointed had to come to him and beg for love toward the people that he wanted to remove from the face of the earth.
Yeah, like Moses. You're talking about Moses.
Remind God, you are love, God.
Moses did that primarily, but think about the difference between David and Saul. King Saul was made king. He wasn't looking to be king. He was looking for a donkey that was lost. Some lost donkeys. Samuel saw him, and God said, anoint him. He's head and shoulders taller than everybody else in Israel. He's a kingly person. Anoint him. Samuel said, okay, you, come here. Congratulations, you're king. And Saul's like, what? So, I have a little bit of compassion for the guy, because... And then he's like, okay, well, I'm king, and all these people are looking at me. And then he messes up. And he looks at Samuel and says, can you just not tell them? Can you, pretend? So that they won't think bad of me? Yeah, he shouldn't have done that. He should have said, I am so sorry, I messed up. But he didn't, and Samuel said, you've lost the kingdom. So then he's out looking, and he finds David, who's a little red-headed 13, 14-year-old at the time, maybe 16. Not really scrawny, because the kid had already, killed a lion and a bear and carried sheep around on his shoulders. But, he was ruddy of complexion, which means he had, red cheeks and he was fair-skinned and had red hair and, not your typical Jewish person. Although I've seen Jewish people in Israel that have that complexion. And he said, all right, you're going to be king. Well, what did David do when he messed up? And we know what Saul did. Saul decided, man, God's not here. We were supposed to sacrifice at noon. He's not here. I'm just going to do the sacrifice. And he said, God, this is for you. It's a sacrifice. God be praised. Everybody pray. Everybody pray. We're sacrificing. He was trying to do the right thing. David, on the other hand, broke 3 of the 10 commandments. He coveted, he committed adultery, he committed murder, by proxy, but still. And when he was confronted on it, he's like, God, I've sinned against you and against man. He repented. Saul, God drove nuts. David, he said, you're a man after my own heart. Saul was afraid of God. He was afraid of the people. David was afraid of disappointing God. See, David had the love of God. He loved him. He didn't want to disappoint him. When he realized that he had messed up, he's like, oh God, I'm so sorry. I messed up. I'm not even going to make excuses. I just messed up. Flat out messed up. Please forgive me. And God did. Yeah, there were consequences. The baby died. David never had peace in his kingdom. Yeah, there were some pretty serious consequences. But he was still a man after God's own heart. See the difference? There was fear and there was no fear. Or fear of other things. So, anyway. Jesus, I pray help us to understand what you want us to understand today. I pray help us to have your love. Jesus, true love that you have for us. Perfect love that casts out fear. Jesus, we thank you and praise you and bless you. Thank you for all that you're doing, all that you're going to do. I ask you continue to help in all areas and all ways. Grant us your peace and your mercy today, Lord. We lift up your holy name. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. And